Good morning, everybody. It's Dan from the Headwaters Kayak Shop, and today we're going to do a simple Kayaking 101 instructional video. I noticed a lot of people are getting into the sport. We're creating a ton of new paddlers, and one of the most important things I feel like you can do is take a beginner lesson. I know not all of you have a kayak shop around you. Not all kayak shops give lessons. So what I'm going to attempt to do here is give you a quick introductory to paddling, paddle strokes, edging. If you have a boat already and you've been paddling for a while, I encourage you to just take a listen and then go out with your own kayak without all your gear, without all your fishing gear, and just put some of these techniques into play. I guarantee you're gonna find yourself being more efficient, more comfortable, and more confident in your kayak. For today's lesson, I'm gonna be paddling the Crescent Kayak Light Tackle. I feel like it's a nice, responsive boat, does what you tell it to do, it's easy to paddle. Up here, you can see my custom camera mount. I wanted to get you guys out front enough so you can see what I'm doing with my paddle, see what I'm doing with my feet. Janky, but it'll get the job done. So as usual, we're out here at Lodi Lake today at our boathouse. It's our on-water facility where you can come demo kayaks, take lessons, rent kayaks, etc. So we're gonna make our way over to some flat water here, so hopefully there won't be as much wind noise. So my goal today is not to bore you guys with information, but to really give you guys some foundational information that should help you in your kayaking. So if it's stuff you've already heard, please bear with me because I want to just start from the beginning, start from the basics, and lay our education on that. So first thing is fit in the kayak. That's one thing that you can do from the dock, and one thing that can make a huge difference from just hopping in your kayak and going. So a couple things I like to think about is my seat. I want to make sure that my butt is pushed all the way back in that seat, so my pelvis can kind of rotate forward and be nice and upright, okay? From there, I can adjust my back band or my backrest, make sure it's nice and upright, so I'm not slouching back, chilling, I'm upright. I like to encourage people that are paddling, this is a sport. We are gonna be active, you are gonna get a little bit of a workout, and the better posture you have, the more efficiently you're gonna be able to propel your kayak across the water. Second thing is your foot pedals here. Making sure that you have the ability to press firmly against those foot pedals, drive the kayak with the foot pedals. And I'm not talking about like a rudder. That's not, the foot pedals aren't necessarily steering you, but what they are offering is a connection to your boat from your feet, and then you can push back into your hips and in your back, and it gives you a lot of leverage to maneuver and to drive the kayak by pushing through the foot pedals. So you want to have a little bit of a bend in your knee. You don't want your legs straight out because that's going to put pressure on your lower back. You want to be upright, a little bend in your knee, and have that ability to push and drive through those foot pedals. The paddle I'm using today is a Bending Branches Navigator Angler. It's a new paddle for 2019, and I'm a big fan of the new bigger wooden blades on the Navigator. They just are incredibly buoyant and they have a ton of grab, really glide and slice through the water, and just make paddling all the more fun. So first thing we're going to talk about is breaking down the forward stroke, how to move your boat through the water efficiently. A lot of people get in their kayaks and they think about it being an arm sport. This is what I see a lot of people doing. They get in their kayak and they're using their paddle to pull past their boat. They're dipping it in the water, maybe they're putting it at their knees, but they're using their arms. Now it works, and the harder you do that, you can really feel like you're digging, but I'm gonna tell you right now, you're wearing yourself out a lot faster than you need to, and you're really limiting the amount of propulsion you get with every stroke. So what I want you guys to think about doing is holding that paddle straight out in front of you, okay? If I were to put it on my head, I'd have about a 90-degree bend on where I'm holding the paddle. So our paddle's out in front of us, and next thing I want you to practice, keeping your head over your center of gravity, is rotating, okay? I'm looking where I want to go, but I'm rotating. That rotation is the number one thing you need to learn in paddle sports. It drives the kayak forward, it turns the kayak. It's the foundation for everything you're going to learn, because if you're rotating with the paddle, you're going to get a lot more power to that power face to move your kayak either through the water or to turn it, etc. So our paddle's out in front of us. We've practiced our rotation. Now what I want you to think about is the catch phase of your stroke. You want to catch that water up by your front toe. So the more I reach forward, the more potential power I can get. And if you think of our bodies being like a spring, we're using that torso rotation to wind up the spring. I have all this potential energy. You can see this knee's bent. Put that paddle in the water. I'm gonna pull with this bottom hand, push with this top hand, and drive with my foot, okay? Notice how my chest stays parallel with the paddle. Next stroke, I'm reaching forward, I'm catching, I'm pushing with my top hand, and I'm driving through my legs. And that's gonna propel my kayak forward. The further I reach, the more catch I have. All your power comes in that first third of your strokes. From your feet to your knees is the majority of your power and potential energy to transfer into the kayak. I like to tell people your paddle is just an anchor that's holding onto a piece of water so you can then propel yourself past the paddle. The other thing is your exit. So we talked about your catch phase, your power phase where you're pushing and pulling, driving with the feet. The last phase is the exit. Where's your paddle coming out of the water? I see a lot of beginners do this and they're lifting. At the end of every stroke, they're lifting the paddle out of the water and all this water's pouring off the blade. What I like to think about is about at my hips, I want to slice this paddle out of the water. So I'm going to reach, take my stroke, slice the paddle out. I like to think about leading with my elbows. It'll look sort of robotic at first, but what that allows you to do is allows the paddle to slice from the water and a lot more, or a lot less resistance as opposed to if you were picking it up at the end of every stroke. See that versus this. It's gonna feel like it's less powerful, but what you're gonna find is you're actually gonna move faster across the water and use less energy if you adopt that torso rotation into your paddling. So that was the basics to a forward stroke. Next thing we're gonna talk about is a sweep stroke. Sweep stroke is a turning stroke designed to move our boat left or right, okay? So if a forward stroke is a fairly vertical stroke, right? My paddle shaft is fairly vertical. I'm trying to drive the boat forward. A turning stroke, I'm gonna keep that paddle a lot more parallel to the surface of the water. I'm still gonna reach forward, I'm still gonna drive with my foot, but instead of that paddle tracking alongside my kayak, I'm gonna take that paddle and sweep it away from my kayak. Almost like I'm doing a big rainbow. Notice my foot driving the boat away from the paddle. My head's looking to where I want the kayak to go. You'll also notice my boat just doing a slight edge. As I push forward against my right foot into that foot pedal, my boat naturally wants to kick to an edge. And kayaks are sort of designed that way, to be paddled on their edges. So as I drive with my right foot, I weight my right hip, and the boat's gonna carve a tighter turn to the left. And the more I push and drive through my feet, the more you'll feel the kayak do that. If you're just starting off, take your time and just worry more about the torso rotation and the complete stroke. Planting at your feet, sweeping all the way to about the stern of the kayak. Another trick you can do is you can roll your elbows forward and slice the paddle back up to the front. And what this does is it provides what we call a low brace. So as you're learning this, it's a good idea to just practice that, skimming the water, because what you'll find when you need that stroke, it'll be right there and it can act as a really good brace to keep you upright if you're in challenging conditions. Now, if I needed to turn even sharper, say I needed to spin a 180 here, I could alternate strokes. I could do my forward sweep, that's gonna push my boat forward, and then I can alternate that with what we call a reverse sweep. Same thing, but backwards. I'm gonna put in at the back of the boat, notice how my torso's rotated, facing my work, put it at the back of the boat, and sweep the paddle up towards my toes. Now, if I alternate, forward sweep, reverse sweep, forward sweep, reverse sweep, you can see I can basically spin my kayak in a 360 with very, very little effort. The other thing I see a lot of beginners do is turning the paddle around in their hands. They turn it around because they think they're gonna get more bite by using it backwards. The truth is, you guys, the back face of your paddle blade works just as good as the power face when it comes to doing these kind of strokes. And the biggest thing is you don't want to lose your position. So as I'm holding my kayak, most of your paddles will have some sort of an index or an oval that allows you to not really look at what you're doing. Your knuckles are always going to be lined up with the paddle blade, almost like you're punching a fist against the paddle blade. As you start turning and moving stuff in your hands, what happens a lot of times, you get to here you do your stroke, and then when you come over here, your paddle's in a weird way, and it can tip you over. It can slice down through the water and cause you to go over. So just get in the habit of keeping your paddle straight and just using the back side of that blade. All right, so we've got our forward sweep, our reverse sweep, our forward stroke. Last thing I'm going to show you guys is just what we call an inside edge turn. If you need to stop and to turn your boat, this is a very effective way to do it. And honestly, it just kind of feels good. What you're going to do is you're going to go elbows up, put your paddle down on the water, and you're going to push down. There you go. It's just like a low brace. Okay, we talked about that on our recovery stroke, right? Forward sweep, low brace. The same is true with this stroke. Our paddle isn't flat, it's at a slight climbing angle. So as we put it in the water, it's like a wing and it wants to climb up out of the water. So we take a few forward strokes, get some speed going. And I call this an inside edge turn. Because what I'm doing is I'm weighting my weight to the inside of the boat. I'm dragging that paddle. The paddle's adding support to the stroke, allowing me to lean over on it and turn my boat nice and sharp. The reason I like to touch on this stroke is because if you're fishing rivers, this is one of the most important strokes you need to know. As you cross an eddy line and you need to peel out, you need to be able to lean over, put that boat on an edge, and have a nice supportive position to transfer from downstream current to an upstream eddy current. If you're not paddling that and you're just doing flat water, well, it's still a good thing to practice because it's teaching you how to brace, it's teaching you how to control in tight areas, and you'll find you use that stroke all the time. Anyways, you guys, I hope that doesn't overload you, but gives you some food for thought, some things to think about. I see a lot of people getting into the sport nowadays that don't ever take a class, don't really learn to paddle, and instead of enjoying the kayaking, they're immediately like, well, if I'm going to be effective, I need to get a pedal drive. So my hope is that this encourages some of you that are just starting off in paddling to give paddling a fair shot, to really learn paddle sports, and I think you might fall in love with the paddling aspect of kayaking, or that's my hope anyway. And if nothing else, it's going to make you more efficient and increase your enjoyment on the water. So if you guys have any questions, do me a favor, leave those in the comment section so I can get back to you and hopefully educate you some more. I think this will be a first of many series. That's my hope, where I can continue, you guys ask questions and I can answer them in the next video. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you do, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you don't, that's fine too. Until next time, you guys, this is Dan, wishing you happy paddling. See you on the water.